Okay, this is going to be the first Respondus tutorial, focusing mainly on the basics of Respondus, so formatting your test in Word and then uploading that into Respondus, which will then convert it to a format that can be uploaded into Canvas. So first things first is to make your quiz or your test in a Word format or in Word, and it has to be properly formatted in order for Respondus to do what you want to with it, so that when it gets uploaded into Canvas, it's already formatted for Canvas. So it's pretty easy as long as you know a couple of tricks. So for each question type that you want, like multiple choice or matching, fill in the blank, short answer essay, or multiple correct answers, there's for some of them there's a code that you have to put prior to the question. So for the most common type of question, like multiple choice questions, there's no designating code. So the default in Respondus would be just multiple choice with one correct answer. But if you want to do any of these other question types, then you have to designate the question type by using the proper code so that Respondus knows what the question type is. So let me go through a couple of quick examples. Okay, so if I want to say have a multiple choice question, then I'm going to go to, I'll either write the question myself, or if I go to a question bank and copy and paste from a question bank, I'm just going to copy and paste here. I'm just going to scroll down and paste that in here. So this is I'm going to build this uh, demo quiz for Respondus here in this example. So um, the important thing is the proper formatting. So since it's a multiple choice quiz, I don't need to have a code before the, I'm sorry, multiple choice question. I don't need to have a code before the question, but I want to make sure that the numbering is accurate. And so this is where I would recommend allowing Word to auto format the numbering of the question. So here I'm going to make it my first question. So I'm going to tell it to restart at number 1. And then normally, um, we would allow Word to auto format the choices like A, B, C, and D like that. The problem is that you can't do that for a quiz that you're going to use Respondus for. So you want to leave it kind of, I guess, you don't want to let Word auto format it. So you want to be able, and the reason is you want to be able to put an asterisk to the left of the letter that designates the correct answer, right? So that would tell Respondus this is the correct answer, and you can't do that if it's auto formatted. So that's really an important aspect of formatting these tests in Word so that they work properly in Respondus and therefore will work properly when they're uploaded into Canvas. So the tricky part becomes, or one of the tricky things you have to watch out for is if you copy and paste questions, like I've got one here, where it automatically kind of auto formats it in Word. I recommend allowing the number of the question to remain auto formatted. That way, if you add or remove questions later, kind of in the middle, it'll automatically renumber all of the questions for you. And it's a pain to go back and have to manually renumber the questions. So auto formatting for the number of the questions is good, but for the letters for the different choices is bad. So here you can see that the auto formatting carried over when I copied and pasted. So in this case, I would need to take away the auto formatting, and then this is kind of a pain because then it takes away the letters. So this is a situation where I'd have to go back in and put the letters in manually. So it's a it's a bit of a pain, but it's not. You can still do it pretty quickly, right? So now I have it so that it's not auto formatted, and then the correct answer is designated. And you can make the correct answer whichever one you want, whichever letter you want. but you can also tell Canvas to randomize them later too, so it doesn't really matter. I typically just make A the correct answer when I'm building these in Respondus or for Respondus, but you can do it however you want. So that would be, multiple choice questions, very straightforward. Now let's say you wanted to do any of these other question types. So you would just need to, like for a matching question, let's say that this is a question that I want in my quiz, then I would just need to make sure that a couple of things you have to make sure when you copy and paste. Since this is a different question than a multiple choice question, it's a matching, and you can see that you don't have to designate a correct answer with an asterisk here because there's a matching question, so you just have to put an equal sign in between what you're matching, and then you have to make sure that you have the proper code. Type MT for matching. And then what you have to be careful about is when you copy and paste like I just did, sometimes the numbering gets messed up. So this needs to be number 3. If it's not in order, then Respondus will tell you that there's an error later on when you try to put it in Respondus. So I need to change this to question 3 like that. So now that'll work. And then if I wanted to do a multiple correct answer question, again, it would be you copy and paste it in. Got to make sure that, or you write it yourself. Got to make sure that you have that proper code. So for a multiple correct answer question, it's type MA. It's got to be before each question. That's a multiple answer question. And then an asterisk before the letter of each correct answer. And again, you've got to make sure that the number of the question is correct. So got to go through and in this case make this number 4. And then because I want the numbers to be auto-formatted, I'm going to tell Word to auto-format that for me. Okay. One more thing I want to point out is for fill-in-the-blank questions, they can be a bit trickier. If you want to do fill-in-the-blank questions, so here I have an example of a fill-in-the-blank question that I'm going to copy and paste into my example quiz here. When I did that, I need to make sure that I put in the code for a fill-in-the-blank question, which is type F. So I'm going to copy and paste type F here. Okay. Check to make sure the number of the question is correct. And I'm going to bring it up there. And so the answer for this question is Canvas. So since this is a fill in the blank that the students have to type in the answer, and therefore they can potentially make a mistake, and Canvas is very picky about what it will accept as a correct answer. So if you want Canvas to be capitalized and you only put I messed this up, right? This should be oh, it shouldn't be auto formatted. I think that's what I'm doing wrong here. So I got to take the auto formatting out and then make this A. And sometimes if you do that, notice that Word automatically started auto formatting it for me, but I don't want it to do that. So when that happens on a PC anyway, you do Control Z, and then that tells Word you don't want it to auto format for you. But you have to put in like all iterations, like common iterations of the correct answer here. So like if you want to accept only capital C Canvas, then you would just leave it A. But if you want to also accept Canvas spelled with a lowercase c, then you would have to put that in as another option. If you, like for example, if you wanted to accept this Kansas, like Kansas, for example, then if the student typed in Kansas, then it would also accept it as the correct answer, but it would have to be a lowercase Kansas. If you wanted, tell it not auto format that. If you wanted Canvas to recognize uppercase Kansas as a correct answer, then you'd have to type in each iteration that you would want Canvas to accept as a correct answer, which is kind of a pain, but otherwise you'd have to kind of go in and use SpeedGrader later to double check anything that Canvas marked as an incorrect answer, just to kind of see what the student wrote. Okay, and then let's see, one more thing I want to point out, because I know we all want to make sure that we have short answer and essay questions in our tests, is you just put in the question with the type E code for essay. And if you want to give the student feedback, then you could put in the answer for the question, or you could just leave that like that, and then you type in your essay question here, and that's going to be what the students would see, and then they would be able to write their answer. But again, you have to make sure that that number numbers correctly. So I need to make that number 6. Okay, so let's say that this is our quiz or our test. These are the questions that we have. Say there's, okay, in this case I've got 6 questions. I'm going to remove all of this example stuff that I had up here. I'm just going to delete it out. I'm going to bring everything up here. I'm going to double check that everything is numbered correctly, which I can already see there's a mistake here, right? So there's question 1 and then another question 1. So I would need to fix that. Let's say I could do continue numbering, and then that'll fix that. So then the questions numbers are auto-formatted and correct, but the letters are not auto-formatted, so that I can put those asterisks in there for the correct answers. Okay, so let's say that this is our final product here, and now we want to get this into Canvas. Well, first we have to use Respondus. So first I'm going to make sure it's saved. Then I'm going to open Respondus, and let's say that this is the first time I've ever used Respondus. I'm going to go here to import question, and it's going to be docx for the word format that we're using. And then I'm going to navigate to the file where I say, or to the folder where I saved that. So I think I put it in here, I think. Yes. Okay. So demo quiz for Respondus tutorial. So what I do is I just a slow double click, and then I copy whatever the name is for the quiz for that file, and then I reselect it and hit open. So here's the file name, and then down here I've got to name it. Now I can manually name it, or, and since I copied the name of the file, I'm just going to paste the name of the file in there. And then I click use stem numbering, and then like let's say that this is chapter 8 quiz. I might go chapter 08 dash, and that's just going to number each question. It'll be CH081, CH082, etc. And eventually in Canvas. And then I'm going to click this preview button, and I do this to make sure that there's no warnings down here, and there's 6 questions. If I messed up the formatting in Word, then this is Respondus is going to identify the error and will allow me to correct it before moving forward. So if I found an error here, or if Respondus found an error here, then what I would do is I would go back to my quiz. I would make the correction, then I would resave it, then I would go back to Respondus and I would click preview again. And so if you do that and you fixed it correctly and resaved it, then Respondus should then show you that there's no warnings. Okay, so once you have no warnings, then you hit finish, and OK. And if you have, say this is a quiz, and you want the quiz to be worth, let's say 5 points, but I've got 6 questions, and if I want each question to be equally weighted, then I've got to change the point value. So you can, if you want unequally weighted point values, this is a really good place to quickly change those point values. You can do it later in Canvas as well, but I've found that sometimes it's just easier to do it here. So let's say that I wanted the essay question to be worth 2 points. I could go in and change that there. Just click and type in 2 and enter. And if I wanted, say, some of these questions to be worth half a point, I could go in and type that in there. Once you get that done, then you can go up here to preview, and you can preview the questions. So you can go through and take a look at the questions if you want. If you find mistakes, then you have two options. You can either go back to the Word file and fix them there and kind of restart the process in Respondus, or you can actually go to Respondus has an edit feature, although it's a little clunky in my opinion. But you can, if it's something simple, then you can do some edits here in Respondus. But once you're pretty sure that everything is correct, then you go to Publish and you hit Publish Wizard. Now let's say that this is the first time I've ever published through Canvas. I'm going to hit Add New so that this is going to be what you're going to see the first time you do it. You only have to set this up once the first time, and then you don't have to set it up again. So it says in your browser, go to any. So you're gonna log on to Canvas first, and you're going to go to your browser and copy the address line. So I've already logged into Canvas. Just gonna make sure. Okay, so here I've logged into my Canvas. I want to copy and paste that. I'll go back to Respondus. I want to paste it, or I'm going to copy, then I'm going to paste it in Respondus, and then I want to tell Respondus to extract. Then I'm going to enter. You can enter a nickname like COC Canvas. For me, I'm just going to put B. And then you're going to put your normal username and password that you use to log on to Canvas, and hit remember for the computer, so you don't have to do this every time. Of course, you want to make sure that this is your computer, and then you hit OK up here, and then you hit next. And if you did everything correctly, you're going to get this. So again, this tutorial is just for your straightforward basic tests. I'm going to do another tutorial for question groups and questions with figures. But in this case, it's going to be a graded quiz. Remember that whether it's a test or a quiz, or whether it's an exam or a quiz, Canvas is going to call it a quiz. And this is the name that I called it. You can leave this other stuff blank. So essentially, you don't have to change a thing for very basic, straightforward tests. Then I'm going to click Next. Then I'm going to find the Canvas, my course that I want to put the quiz in. So let's say that this is a quiz for my microbiology class. I'm going to find it. I'm going to click on it. Now it's going to give me a drop-down menu. Just ignore the drop-down menu. As long as you've clicked on the proper course, that's all you've got to do, and then click Next. Then it's going to take, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, maybe less, and it'll eventually pop up here that it's finished. So let's see how long it's going to take to do that. Okay, here we go. Publish. Completed successfully, so I'm just going to click Finish. Now I'm going to navigate to the course where I put the quiz. So I'm going to go to my microbiology course, and let's say you're going to have your Canvas formatted differently. Let's say I'm going to make this a Unit 2 quiz for me. So I'm gonna navigate to my where I want to put the quiz, right? So wherever module you want to put your test, navigate to that module. So here is my Unit 2 module. I'm going to go over here, and if If you're already at the module when you upload the quiz, it's very important that you refresh before you try to put the quiz into the module, okay? Because otherwise you won't be able to find, the quiz won't be there when you're looking for it. But if you refresh, then it'll be there. So once I've refreshed or navigated the module, I'm going to hit plus. I'm going to go to quizzes, and then you need to remember the name of the quiz. Makes it easy to find. So I'm going to navigate and select the demo quiz that I just uploaded and hit add item, and it's always going to drop it in at the bottom of the module, and it's going to be unpublished at first. Okay, so what you can do is at this point you want to go in and double check everything, right? You want to edit the quiz, you want to put in your instructions for the students, you want to put it in whatever assignment group you want to put it into. Like say for me, let's say this is a lab quiz for me. You can tell Canvas to shuffle the answers. If you want to do a time limit or multiple attempts, you can set all those up here. I'm sure you're familiar with that already. I never let the students see the correct answers, so I always uncheck that. But I always let them see what the incorrect answers are, but not what the correct answers would be. Of course, that's all user preference. You would set your due dates and times, etc. down here. When you get all that set up that's the way you want it to, then you would want to go in, and I always go in and I hit show question details, and I just double check everything, right? So I just make sure everything is, and you can see these are the multiple choice questions. This is the matching question. This is the multiple correct answer question, and then this is the fill in the blank, and then the essay question. And if you want to change, if you need to make any corrections, any additions, of course you can do that there by hitting the edit button. You can make any changes that you need to make, including changing the point value if you need to. Once you do that, you hit update. And when everything is to your satisfaction, then you can hit save. I typically will hit save first and wait to publish it until I go and I preview it. Of course, you don't have to do that, or you could even go so far as to go into student view and take a look at it. But I hit preview, and then this is more or less what the students are going to see. You can also set it so the students see one question at a time. So I kind of like just to kind of my last check here to make sure that everything looks okay. And you don't really have to do everything. I just really look at it from a student point of view. And of course, here's our essay question. The students can type in their answers, and we can ignore that. And then ultimately, when I'm happy with the product, then I will publish. And then there'll be an announcement pushed to the students that there's a new assignment for them, and based on whatever the due dates and times are, it'll be available to them until then. I think I've hit all of the main topics here for this very straightforward tutorial for Respondus. If you want to go back here and just like reload the page, verify that the quiz has been published in the module. So here it is showing published. Of course, you can move it wherever you want if you don't like it at the bottom of the module, or you can move it to a different module, whatever you need to do at that point. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this tutorial here. I am going to make a couple of more tutorials, a little bit more advanced techniques in terms of making question groups through using Respondus, as well as questions that need any kind of figures, how to make those as well. I hope this was helpful.